Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast Special Edition Series, where I go over the off seasons for every team in the NFL and preview and predict how they're going to go. And this is the 16th of 32, so we're just about halfway there. And this is going to be the two-time reigning Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs. So we go over free agents to be, team needs, franchise tag candidate, trade candidate, release candidate, extension candidate, draft fit, free agent fit, and a bold prediction for every team and a lot more. And like I said at the top, this is the Kansas City Chiefs, your two-time Super Bowl champs. All right, they have a lot of free agents to be. So, Mecole Hardman, Richie James, Jerick McKinnon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Blaine Gabbert, the backup quarterback, Donovan Smith, Chris Jones, Derek Nottie, Mike Donna, Willie Gay, Drew Tranquill, L'Jarius Sneed, Tommy Townsend, and then long snapper James Winchester. So, Kansas City has a ton of free agents to be. Team needs running back, wide receiver, offensive tackle, defensive end, defensive tackle, outside linebacker, cornerback, punter. All right, there's people that don't think that Chris Jones is getting the franchise tag, and I'm not suggesting he is, but I do think he's a franchise tag candidate. I disagree with the great Adam Schefter. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but Chris Jones is a player that the Kansas City Chiefs cannot afford to lose. If they lose him, I do not think they will three-peat. You heard it here first. They're not three-peating if Chris Jones is off the roster next year. He's one of the best defensive players in the NFL. He's arguably the best interior defensive tackle in the league, not named Aaron Donald. He's amazing. They need to keep him long-term. So, franchise tag him and then extend him later. Not the biggest deal in the world. Kansas City, get it done. Other franchise tag candidates, L'Jarius Sneed, maybe Drew Tranquill, maybe Willie Gay. But to me, it has to be Chris Jones. No doubt about it. Trade candidate. This was a hard one to find, but I went with Lucas Niang. He's a backup tackle. He has spots started here and there with injuries. I understand Donovan Smith's going to be a free agent, but I think that they're going to be in the market to replace him. And Niang, I think they look at as a spot starter, backup kind of guy. Juwan Taylor was a free agent signing they pulled off. I believe that was last season. So I do think that Lucas Niang is a trade candidate. Maybe the backup tight end Noah Gray. Maybe Kadarius Toney again, which would be crazy. But I really couldn't find an obvious one. Maybe Neil Farrell if they re-sign Chris Jones. But I do think that the ideal one is Lucas Niang. Release candidate. Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Yes, I get it. He was awesome in the Super Bowl. But let's not forget that he was awful in the regular season and cost them several games in the regular season with his infamous drops. He's just somebody that is feast or famine. He's not always healthy. I think the Chiefs want to upgrade that position. So I think Valdes-Scantling is an ideal cut candidate. Maybe Joe Thuney. I know they signed him from the Patriots a few years ago. Maybe Juwan Taylor, big money free agent pickup. Maybe Justin Reed. But, it's weird to say Travis Kelce. I think he's the retirement candidate on this team. It's a rare retirement candidate on this team. But I do think he's a candidate to retire. He just hasn't announced it yet. Or what he really wants to do. But although he did vow to come back, but a lot of guys do that in Super Bowl parades and such. Although we kind of knew Peyton Manning was retiring when that happened. There were rumors about Aaron Donald after the Rams Super Bowl, but he ended up coming back. So maybe he does come back. I think he will come back if you ask me. If there's a retirement candidate on the team, it's Kelce. But, to me the ideal release candidate is Marquez Valdes-Scantling, although you could talk me into Kadarius Toney as well. The extension candidate, Creed Humphrey. Creed Humphrey is a rock at center for the Chiefs. He had a 90 grade in 22. He dipped a little bit this past year, but still very good, 78.2 overall. And he was a 91.4 overall in his rookie season. I know somebody say, oh, well, he got worse, but he's still awesome. Pay him. Although the other candidate for an extension is Nick Bolton, the inside linebacker, who is solid. He's been pretty good his first 3 years in the league, but Creed Humphrey, to me, is the guy you have to pay if you are the Kansas City Chiefs. Although there's a lot of guys they have to pay next year. Next year is where they have to worry about McDuffie, Karlaftis, Pacheco, Justin Watson. So, yeah, they have a lot of guys that they have to worry about next year. But they have 2 guys. Oh, and Trey Smith. He's another starter on that offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs. They have to pay him potentially too. So, that's another one that they may have to look at. Trey Smith, the starting guard, who's solid too, but to me the easy one is Creed Humphrey. All right, draft fit. Adonai Mitchell, that just makes a lot of sense. Rookie wide receiver coming into the draft from Texas. I had him there for my first mock and my second mock. That match just makes a lot of sense. Let's say if they were to trade down, maybe Roman Wilson, maybe Lamba Conkley, but say if they were to keep the pick, if they don't go receiver, say they sign a wide receiver or 2 in free agency, Chris Braswell's a good fit. Mike Donda, they have to replace. Darius Robinson out of Missouri. Somebody else, maybe Leonard Taylor, if they somehow lose Chris Jones. If Kelsey retires, the second-round guy they could look at is Jatavion Sanders out of Texas. There's a lot of ways that the Chiefs can go here. If they trade up, maybe Keon Coleman. So, the Chiefs do have some interesting draft options as well. For agent fit, Mike Evans. This makes a lot of sense. Mike Evans is still awesome in my book. He was really good for the Bucs this past season. And throughout his career, he was awesome this year. 13 touchdowns, almost 1,300 yards. So he is going to get a big payday for somebody. I do not think that the Bucs will franchise tag him. And I think that Mike Evans wants to go to a team that's ready to win or is in win-now mode like the Chiefs. But even if they did sign Mike Evans, that doesn't offset a potential loss of Chris Jones. Just doesn't. But Mike Evans does make a lot of sense for Kansas City. A lot of other guys make sense for the Chiefs. Jalen Johnson, if the Bears don't franchise tag him. Christian Wilkins, if the Dolphins don't franchise tag him. Maybe they re-sign Snead, who knows. Michael Pittman makes sense. Danielle Hunter makes sense. I also think that Leonard Williams makes sense. I feel like he makes sense for a lot of different teams. Marquise Brown makes sense if the Cardinals don't franchise him. Bryce Huff makes sense. DJ Reader. I think that Calvin Ridley makes some sense. I think that Chase Young makes sense. I think that Frankie Louvu makes sense from the Panthers. I also think that Jonathan Grenard of the Texans makes some sense. Levante David makes a lot of sense. But my bold prediction for the Kansas City Chiefs, I think they're going to sign Mike Evans. I predicted that he was going to get traded there last year, but that didn't happen. But they signed him for $76. That's my guess. He would just be amazing with Mahomes. He would immediately become their WR1, take some pressure off of Kelsey, and obviously take some pressure off Mahomes to rely on the guys he had to rely on this season. And he's an obvious upgrade over what they had. So Mike Evans, 4 for 76 to Kansas City. And I think a lot of teams are going to be interested in Mike Evans' services. Futures. The Chiefs are the favorites to win the AFC. Mahomes is the MVP favorite, plus 650, and rightfully so. They're the AFC favorites, plus 350, but they're not the Super Bowl favorites. The 49ers are at 5-1. The Chiefs are plus 650. And I understand why the 49ers are favored. I completely get it. They're in the weaker conference, and the Chiefs have to go through all those quarterbacks like they did during their run this year. And that's what made their Super Bowl run so impressive. So I want to see Chris Jones Defensive Player of the Year if he's back with the Chiefs, and whether it's back with the Chiefs or elsewhere. But I do want to see what those odds would look like. Isaiah Pacheco Offensive Player of the Year would be weird. I just love that guy. I think he's amazing. He'd probably be like 150-1 or something crazy like that. Travis Kelce will probably have shorter odds than you think because of the Taylor stuff. So he'll probably be like, 40-1, which would be overvalued in my book. Andy Reid for Coach of the Year would probably be a long shot because the Chiefs are expected to be good. Say if Adonai Mitchell is drafted by the Chiefs and say they don't sign a receiver and they draft Mitchell, I wonder what his odds would be for Offensive Rookie of the Year. That would probably be like, 16-1 or something like that. So that's just one that I wanted to keep in mind. And are the Chiefs a potential Bill Belichick destination a year from now? I say they're only possible if Andy retires. Because Andy will not get fired from there. He just won't. I think the back-to-back Super Bowls gave him leverage and freedom. And if he wants to retire, he'll retire. And I don't think he's ready to retire. So the only way Bill would become a Chiefs, if the Chiefs become a Bill candidate, it'd be if Andy decides to hang it up after the season, which I do not see happening whatsoever. Are the Chiefs valuable at plus 650 to win the Super Bowl? What I would do is wait until after the draft and free agency, because they might get worse on paper and other contenders might get better. I would wait until after at least free agency, because their odds are going to drop to like 8-1 if they lose Chris Jones and if they lose some other pieces, Snead. But say if they keep Jones and say they get rid of Snead and they lose Donna and they lose some of the receivers, and let's say like Buffalo gets better, the Ravens get better, the Chargers get better somehow, the Broncos are probably going to be worse. They're probably going to cut Russell Wilson. Raiders, that's one to talk about soon. I think I'm going to do them next. If I have to, I just have to double check who's next on the list. But Chiefs to win the division, they'll probably be minus money. They'll probably still be like minus 150 to win that division. And I would parlay that with like the Bills to win the East or something like that. And I think the Philly-Dallas thing, that's still a coin flip in the East and the NFC side. But the obvious one is to do the Chiefs with the 49ers and maybe the Bills to win their divisions. They're still going to be favorites to win their division, but keep an eye on the Super Bowl odds after free agency because they might lose some guys, and that's when I would bet the Chiefs at like a potential like 7-1 or 8-1. But if you want to take the plus 650, I'd parlay that with like some NBA or NHL futures, like to win the titles, like the Celtics or the Oilers or somebody like that. The Celtics and the Dallas Stars, the Celtics and the Bruins, or something along those lines. That's how I would play Chiefs right now, but I would wait to see if that number drops, and then I would take my chance on the three-peat. All right, so there you have it for the Kansas City Chiefs. Next up will be the Las Vegas Raiders, like I brought up a couple seconds ago, so keep an eye out for Casey's division rival.